Yuki is the kind of guy who could trip over absolutely nothing and still apologize to the floor. Yet somehow, this walking NPC managed to catch the attention of the most beautiful girl in school. The only tiny problem? She isn't actually a normal girl. She's a powerful demon who came to the human world for one reason, to eat his soul. But instead of collecting his soul, she's now fighting for her life trying not to fall in love with him. Yeah, things got complicated fast. The story begins at school where a beautiful girl is quietly sitting in her classroom when Yuki suddenly walks in. The way he's staring at her, you'd think she just used some kind of mind control spell, which is actually pretty close to what happened. The girl's name is Kanon. She calmly tells Yuki that she's been waiting for him and that today is finally the day she'll take his soul. You know, normal high school conversation. Then, without warning, she reveals her true form. Turns out she's not just a pretty student, she's an actual devil, and not some random low-level demon either. Kanon proudly introduces herself as the archdevil of gluttony, a demon who grows stronger by consuming souls. Basically, she's on a supernatural bulking diet. We then jump to the demon world where Kanon is talking to her father, the Demon King himself. Meanwhile, the Demon King is casually sitting on a mountain of food like he's filming a mukbang video. Before discussing anything important, he tells Kanon to sit down and eat first. But Kanon immediately complains. She's tired of demon food. Apparently, after eating the same stuff for centuries, even demons get bored of the menu. Instead, she wants to try something new. A human soul. Not because she's evil, okay, maybe a little because she's evil, but mostly because she wants to know what it tastes like and hopes it will make her as powerful as her father one day. The Demon King eventually agrees and gives her permission to visit the human world. Before she leaves, he gives her one simple warning: don't get into trouble. And if you've watched anime before, you already know that's basically a guarantee that trouble is coming. Soon after arriving in the human world, Kanon enrolls in Yuki's school, and instantly becomes the center of attention. She's beautiful, she's smart, she's athletic, she's basically the character that makes everyone else feel unemployed. Naturally, the entire school falls in love with her. But Kanon isn't interested in popularity. She's here for souls, so she starts checking the souls of students around her. Unfortunately, every single one looks exactly the same. Boring. Nothing special. Then she checks Yuki's soul, and suddenly everything changes. For the first time, she finds a soul that's completely different from everyone else's. Now she's interested, so she uses her powers and calls him over. Back in the present, Kanon gently explains that there's nothing to worry about. She can take his soul without causing any pain. In fact, she starts describing the process in a way that sounds incredibly suspicious out of context. Meanwhile, Yuki is standing there with the biggest smile on his face. Instead of being terrified, he actually thanks her. Kanon immediately freezes, because that's not how this is supposed to work. Most people scream, some run away, a few faint. Yuki says thank you. At this point, Kanon is wondering if she accidentally hypnotized a goldfish. Yuki then explains his logic. His beloved senpai, the girl admired by the entire school, is standing right in front of him and wants to spend time with him. According to Yuki, this is basically the greatest day of his life. Kanon stares at him in complete disbelief and asks what he's talking about, and that's when she discovers the horrifying truth. Yuki thinks all of this is cosplay. The devil form? Cosplay. The soul stealing? Roleplay. The demon powers? Special effects. This man's brain is working overtime just to avoid accepting reality. While Kanon desperately tries to explain that she's a real devil, Yuki keeps misunderstanding everything she says, and somehow, every explanation only makes him like her even more. At this point, Kanon hasn't stolen a single soul, but somehow she's already losing her mind. Things somehow get even crazier when Yuki suddenly starts taking off his clothes. Kanon instantly panics. This poor devil came to steal a soul, not deal with whatever nonsense Yuki's brain just came up with. Keep in mind, despite being an archdevil, Kanon has absolutely zero dating experience. No boyfriend, no romance, not even a demon world situationship. And now this absolute menace is standing in front of her acting like they're in a completely different anime. Unable to handle the secondhand embarrassment any longer, Kanon immediately returns to her normal appearance and starts yelling at him. She demands to know if he's completely insane. Kanon quickly explains that she has absolutely no intention of doing anything romantic like that. She's still young, okay? Meanwhile, Yuki's confidence bar somehow remains at 100%. Without missing a beat, he casually announces that he's already fallen in love with her. And according to his flawless strategy, she'll eventually fall in love with him too. Honestly, the plan sounds ridiculous, but somehow it's working. Yuki then starts throwing out surprisingly smooth lines one after another, and every single one lands. Kanon can barely process what's happening. She's lived as a devil for years, but nobody has ever spoken to her with such genuine affection before. No tricks, no fear, no hidden agenda, just a really weird guy being completely honest. To make matters worse, she's starting to realize that Yuki is exactly her type, which is terrible news for her mission, and great news for Yuki's completely undeserved luck. Before long, Yuki decides to skip several relationship stages and goes straight for the final boss. He asks Kanon to date him. Kanon immediately turns red. Her brain starts buffering. Several error messages appear internally, but after thinking about it for a moment, she reluctantly agrees. At least that's what she tells herself. Deep down, she's probably happier than she'd ever admit. The second Yuki hears her answer, he nearly explodes from happiness. After saying goodbye, he promises to see her again tomorrow before heading home. The next day, Yuki is hanging out in class with his friends. One of them suggests going home together after school, but Yuki says he has important plans, which is shocking because this guy usually looks like he has all the free time in the world. Nearby, a girl immediately gets annoyed. She tells him to stop calling her Mashi. Her real name is Nadeko, and she'd appreciate it if this idiot could remember that for once. Yuki quickly apologizes. Then he casually drops a nuclear bomb on the conversation. He announces that he has a girlfriend now, and because of that, he'll be spending more time with her. The moment Nadeko hears those words, she completely freezes. For a second, it's like her soul leaves her body. Then she forces out an awkward smile and congratulates him, but the smile doesn't last very long. A few moments later, the anger returns. Nadeko stares directly at Yuki and asks the question everyone is thinking. How did someone like you get a girlfriend? Honestly, fair question. Meanwhile, Kanon is sitting alone, trying to focus on her original mission. Unfortunately, her thoughts keep drifting back to Yuki. No matter how hard she tries, she can't stop thinking about him. He's different from everyone else. He's honest. He's weird. And somehow, he's kind of adorable. While she's lost in thought, Yuki suddenly appears right in front of her. The surprise nearly sends her soul back to the demon world. Yuki apologizes because he forgot to ask for her name yesterday. Kanon immediately becomes shy. Then she asks if he truly wants to know her name. After getting his attention, she starts building up suspense like she's about to reveal a legendary secret. She proudly claims that her name is unbelievably cute. After all that dramatic buildup, she finally introduces herself. Her name is Kanon. Yuki smiles and immediately tells her that the name suits her perfectly. Simple, direct, critical hit. Then, as if that wasn't enough damage, he casually reminds her that she's his girlfriend. The effect is immediate. Kanon turns bright red. Smoke is practically coming out of her ears. And honestly, if getting a girlfriend was this easy, half the people watching this video wouldn't still be saying maybe next year. Unfortunately, reality doesn't work the way Yuki thinks it does. According to him, since they're dating now, they should probably kiss. A bold statement. A very bold statement. And one that is immediately rewarded with a high-speed slap directly to the face. Kanon instantly yells at him for moving way too fast. Then she storms off before he can say anything else. Meanwhile, she's secretly promising herself that she'll get revenge for this humiliation someday. A little later, Kanon spots a boy and girl looking suspiciously romantic. Specifically, they look like they're about to kiss. Naturally, Kanon activates her secret identity, the romance police. She immediately threatens to tell their families. The couple calmly responds that their families already know. Kanon pauses for a second. Clearly that wasn't the answer she expected, so she quickly upgrades to Plan B, a threaten to report them to the principal. That finally works. The terrified couple immediately runs away while Kanon stands there proudly. Congratulations, she successfully protected the school from handholding and happiness. As she watches the students around campus, Kanon starts thinking about her mission again. One day she'll collect all of their souls. At least that's the plan. But before she can continue her evil villain monologue, Yuki suddenly appears right beside her. Seriously, this guy spawns out of nowhere. 1 second he's gone. The next second he's standing beside her talking about the weather. Yuki casually comments that it's a nice day outside. Kanon nearly jumps out of her skin. After calming down, she asks what he's doing there. Yuki explains that he wants to spend time with her. The only problem is that he can't decide where they should go. The moment Kanon hears that, her imagination immediately starts sprinting at full speed. She's already imagining things that are about 10 seasons ahead of their current relationship. Trying to stay calm, she asks where he wants to go. Without hesitation, Yuki gives his answer. A love hotel. Kanon immediately explodes. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, everything. She calls him insane and loudly declares that she would never go to a place like that. She's way too uncomfortable for that. Then, while panicking, she accidentally says something even worse. She blurts out that she'd probably feel more comfortable at home instead. The second those words leave her mouth, she realizes what she just implied, and immediately wishes the earth would swallow her whole. Even Kanon has no idea what's coming out of her mouth anymore. Before she can recover from that disaster, Yuki moves closer again. Then he announces that they should start planning their very first real date. Kanon's face instantly turns red. Again. At this point, blushing has basically become her default setting. Unable to handle another second of this conversation, she runs away while yelling that she'll definitely get revenge someday. Oh, and she's still planning to steal his soul. Probably. Maybe. Honestly, even even she's not convinced anymore. Eventually, the two finally go on an actual date. While they're walking together, Yuki suggests holding hands. Kanon rejects the idea instantly. Then, while blushing so hard she could power a small city, she claims that holding hands might somehow get her pregnant. Kanon has lived for centuries. She's an archdevil, one of the most powerful beings in existence. And somehow she has less romantic knowledge than the average middle schooler. Realizing she needs an alternative, Kanon comes up with what she believes is a brilliant solution. A little while later, everyone on the street keeps staring at them. At first it's hard to understand why. Then the answer becomes painfully obvious. Instead of holding hands, Kanon has literally tied their wrists together with a rope. She's dragging Yuki around like she just captured a dangerous criminal. Yuki points out that this looks incredibly weird, which is probably the biggest understatement of the episode. But Kanon insists everything is perfectly normal. Meanwhile, her face is still bright red, because despite all her efforts to act cool, she's enjoying this date way more than she wants to admit. As the date continues, Kanon suddenly starts questioning every decision she's made since arriving in the human world. She came here to collect souls, not hold hands, not go on dates, and definitely not blush every 5 minutes because of one ridiculously confident human. While she's busy having this massive internal crisis, she completely forgets one important detail. Yuki is still tied to the other end of the rope. Without warning, Kanon starts running, and poor Yuki gets dragged behind her like a shopping cart with a broken wheel. By the time she finally stops, he looks like he just survived a low-budget action movie. Somehow, he's still alive. The two eventually arrive at a nearby park. Yuki suggests they do something fun together. The moment Kanon hears that, her imagination immediately starts creating 20 different worst-case scenarios. Meanwhile, Yuki's actual plan is much simpler. The guy just wants burgers. That's it. No secret scheme, no romantic master plan, just food. The two sit down together and start eating. Yuki happily talks about how good the burgers taste. But more importantly, he continues his favorite hobby, flirting with Kanon. Every few minutes he compliments her. She's cute, she's beautiful, she's adorable. At this point, Yuki is dropping compliments faster than most people send text messages. Kanon takes a bite of her burger and is surprised by how much she enjoys it. But let's be honest, the burger isn't the reason she's smiling. The real reason is sitting right next to her refusing to shut up. Yuki keeps praising her so much that even the Demon King's daughter can't handle it. Then he says something so bold that Kanon almost experiences a system shutdown. Yuki casually tells her that he wants to lose himself in her forever. Kanon immediately freezes. Critical hit. Super effective. Her soul nearly leaves her body before she even gets the chance to steal anyone else's. Meanwhile, back in the demon world, the Demon King is doing exactly what you'd expect. Eating. Again. This man has more screen time with food than some side characters have in the entire series. While devouring another mountain-sized meal, he starts wondering whether Kanon is eating properly in the human world. For someone called the Demon King, he's surprisingly close to becoming Demon Dad of the Year. As he's worrying about his daughter, Kanon's loyal maid, Amy, suddenly appears. Amy announces that she plans to visit the human world. And let's be honest, somebody has to check on Kanon because her mission is going horribly wrong. The story then returns to Kanon. The next morning, she wakes up inside an incredibly luxurious room. After getting dressed in her school uniform, she prepares for another day. But then we learn something very interesting. Kanon isn't living alone. She's living with an entire human family. A family that believes she's their daughter. Why? Because she hypnotized them. Yep, Kanon literally spawned herself into a random family and installed herself as a household member. Every time the hypnosis starts weakening, she simply refreshes it like updating a subscription. Problem solved. As she heads out for school, her fake family cheers her on. They treat her like the perfect daughter every parent dreams of having. Straight A student, polite, beautiful. Meanwhile, their actual daughter is probably wondering why she got replaced by a demon. As Kanon walks toward school, she starts talking to herself and thinking about everything that's happened lately. Unfortunately for her, peace and quiet don't last very long, because standing nearby is a familiar figure. Of course it's Yuki. At this point, this man appears more often than mobile game ads. The second Kanon sees him, she immediately demands to know what he's doing there. Yuki looks completely confused by the question. According to him, they're dating, and couples naturally walk to school together. Makes sense to everyone except Kanon. The poor devil nearly short-circuits on the spot. Then another horrifying thought hits her. How did he find her address? Yuki innocently explains that one of the teachers gave it to him. Kanon instantly realizes the educational system has betrayed her. Years of secret demon planning, defeated by school administration. Trying to escape the situation, Kanon suddenly takes off running. She tells Yuki that if he wants to walk with her, he'll have to catch up. In her mind, this plan is flawless. After all, she's an archdevil with superhuman abilities. There's no way an ordinary human can keep up with her. her. At least, that's what she thinks. Canon is completely confident in her plan. After all, she's an archdevil with superhuman strength, speed, and abilities. There's absolutely no way a normal high school boy can keep up with her, right? Wrong. Very wrong. Because somehow, Yuki actually keeps pace with her. In fact, things get even more embarrassing. Canon is the one who gets tired first. The mighty archdevil of gluttony has just been outperformed by a love-struck teenager running on pure romance and zero brain cells. Honestly, love might be the strongest power in anime. Or maybe Yuki is just too stubborn to realize his lungs should have given up already. Either way, Canon ends up exhausted. A few moments later, Yuki catches up and kindly offers her a bottle of water. Before this happened, the two had somehow drifted into talking about relationships, dating, and even marriage. You know, perfectly normal topics for a couple that started dating yesterday. Without thinking, Canon accepts the bottle. Then disaster strikes. A horrifying realization enters her mind. If she drinks from the bottle and gives it back, they'll both drink from the same place. Which means, an indirect kiss. Canon immediately enters panic mode. Critical threat detected. Instead of giving the bottle back, she chugs every single drop. Not one drop survives. Then she throws the empty bottle straight into a trash can. Yuki watches in confusion. Canon quickly explains that plastic shouldn't be reused. She's simply protecting the environment. Sure, Canon. Let's go with that. Meanwhile, Ami has finally arrived in the human world. Her mission is simple. Check on Canon. Because apparently nobody trusts Canon to complete her mission without accidentally falling in love first. After searching for a while, Ami finally spots her, and immediately notices something suspicious. Canon and Yuki are walking together, very closely. Yuki is happily talking about how couples should walk to school together. Meanwhile, Canon is desperately trying to explain the concept of personal space. The second Ami approaches, she's excited to see her master. But before she can say much, Canon immediately grabs her and drags her into a private room. Clearly somebody has secrets to hide. Once they're alone, Canon demands to know why Ami came here. Ami claims she simply wanted to continue serving her beloved master. Canon isn't buying it, not for a second. Before they can continue arguing, Yuki suddenly appears. Seriously, this guy has mastered teleportation. With no other option available, Canon reluctantly introduces Ami as her personal maid. Yuki freezes, because he just discovered something important. His girlfriend casually has a maid. Most people are struggling to afford snacks. Canon has staff. Canon explains that her father probably got worried and sent Ami to check on her. Ami agrees. Although judging by her personality, her version of checking on someone probably involves surveillance, interrogation, and a full investigation report. As the conversation continues, Canon becomes nervous. This is the first time she's introducing Yuki to someone from her actual world. And deep down, another worry starts bothering her. What if Ami becomes interested in him? What if Yuki notices Ami? What if things get complicated? Trying to prevent any future problems, Canon immediately tells Ami to stay away from him. Ami looks completely confused. She asks whether Yuki is simply a human friend. But the moment she gets a proper look at him, everything changes. Her eyes lock onto his soul, and what she sees shocks her. Unlike ordinary humans, Yuki possesses a rare holy soul. A soul so unusual that even demons consider it incredibly valuable. The second Ami notices it, her excitement goes through the roof. She practically launches herself toward him. Suddenly she wants to examine him immediately, which is probably the first time Yuki has ever heard that sentence from anyone. Before things can become even stranger, Canon quickly grabs Ami and pulls her away. She firmly orders her to stay back. Ami stares at Canon in complete confusion. At this point, her master's behavior makes absolutely no sense. A powerful soul is standing right there. Normally Canon would be interested, so why is she acting so protective? Then Ami asks the question that's been bothering her. What happened to you? Canon immediately freezes. Her face turns bright red, and after a few seconds of hesitation, she finally tells the truth. Yuki is her boyfriend. The room instantly goes silent. Ami completely freezes. Her brain stops working. The loading screen appears. Because out of all the possibilities she imagined before coming here, this was not one of them. Then she notices Canon's face. Bright red, embarrassed, flustered, and suddenly everything makes sense. The missing pieces finally connect. Her master didn't fail the mission. She got hit by romance. Ami instantly transforms into a full-time gossip reporter. Questions start firing out faster than machine gun bullets. When did this happen? How did it happen? Why did it happen? And most importantly, how did this guy manage to pull the daughter of the Demon King? Honestly, Ami isn't the only one wondering that. Ami immediately starts asking question after question about Canon's relationship, and poor Canon is so embarrassed she looks like she's about to explode. After a lot of pressure, she finally admits that she and Yuki walk to school together. They also eat lunch together in the park. That's it. That's the confession. Yet somehow Ami reacts like she just uncovered the greatest romance story in history. In her eyes, Canon no longer looks like a terrifying archdevil. She looks like a girl experiencing her very first crush. And honestly, she's not wrong. Things get even worse when Canon shyly admits that they call each other by their first names. dreams. The moment Ami hears that, her excitement reaches dangerous levels. At this rate, she's one step away from planning their wedding. A little later, Ami walks over to Yuki and tells him how lucky he is to have someone as amazing as Kanon. But Yuki immediately asks her to keep some distance. Then, without hesitation, he walks straight over to Kanon's side. And what he says next lands a direct critical hit. Yuki calmly explains that he's not the type of guy who flirts with multiple girls. As far as he's concerned, there's only one girl he likes. Kanon. Just Kanon. The moment he says her name, Kanon's face turns red again. Honestly, if blushing generated electricity, she'd be powering the entire city by now. She immediately tells him to stop saying embarrassing things. Unfortunately for her, her reaction makes her feelings even more obvious. At this point, the devil who came to steal souls is losing her own heart at record speed. Meanwhile, Ami decides to make things even more chaotic. She casually announces that she wouldn't mind if Yuki had 2 girlfriends. According to her, she'd be perfectly fine joining the relationship. Kanon instantly malfunctions. Error. System crash. Emergency reboot required. She immediately starts yelling at Ami to stay away from Yuki, but Ami doesn't seem bothered at all. In fact, she becomes even friendlier toward him. The more Kanon watches them talking, the more irritated she becomes. At first, she thinks she's simply annoyed, but that's not the real reason. Without realizing it, Kanon has entered a dangerous new stage. Jealousy. And she's terrible at hiding it. Trying to calm herself down, Kanon walks around the school, but before long, she notices something strange. Several students are lying unconscious around campus. The moment she sees them, she already knows who's responsible. There is only one person capable of causing this much chaos in such a short amount of time. Ami. A few students walk past talking about a beautiful maid they met earlier. And just like that, Kanon's suspicions are confirmed. Following the trail of destruction, she eventually reaches the staff room. And somehow the situation is even worse than expected. This time, Ami is literally seconds away from kissing one of the teachers. Kanon completely loses her patience. She immediately starts shouting. The teacher panics and runs for his life. Probably the smartest decision he's made all day. Once he's gone, Kanon begins scolding Ami. According to her, collecting souls is supposed to be a careful mission. A subtle mission. A secret mission. Meanwhile, Ami arrived in the human world and immediately turned it into a reality show. But as Kanon keeps talking, her true frustration accidentally slips out. She demands to know why Ami keeps getting involved with Yuki specifically. Why him? Why not literally anybody else? Ami looks surprised by the question. Then she explains herself. Every human she's met so far has been incredibly kind. An old man treated her warmly. A little girl shared cookies with her. Other people spent time with her and made her smile. As Kanon listens, she slowly begins to understand something. There's a reason everyone in the demon castle loves Ami. No matter who she meets, she always finds the good in them. She focuses on people's kindness instead of their flaws. And that's exactly why everyone likes her. Then another realization hits Kanon. A much more embarrassing one. She isn't angry at Ami. Not really. The truth is much worse. She's jealous. Jealous of how easily Ami talks to Yuki. Jealous of how comfortable they seem together. Jealous because she actually cares. After calming down, Kanon apologizes for yelling. Then, trying to sound casual, she nervously asks what Ami thinks about Yuki. Ami immediately sees right through her. The maid doesn't even hesitate. A huge grin appears on her face, because she finally realizes what's happening. The mighty daughter of the Demon King has fallen completely and hopelessly in love. Ami immediately starts teasing Kanon about being jealous. And Kanon responds the same way every anime girl responds when she's obviously jealous, by denying absolutely everything. Unfortunately, her bright red face is providing evidence to the contrary. At this point, even a blind person could tell what's happening. From that moment on, Kanon develops a new strategy. A very simple strategy. Stay with Yuki all the time. If she's always beside him, then Ami can't get close to him. Problem solved. At least that's the theory. While the two are walking around school together, they come across a girl who accidentally drops a stack of papers. Before anyone can react, Yuki rushes over to help. Within seconds, the girl is smiling at him. You know, that smile. The dangerous anime smile that usually means another girl has joined the cast. Before the conversation can continue, Kanon suddenly steps between them. Politely, very politely, terrifyingly politely. She suggests that the girl can probably handle the rest herself. The poor girl immediately understands the situation. Survival instincts activate, and she quickly leaves.